It's 7 o'clock. Do we have quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have quorum. So let's see who just joined. Doug. Okay. It's 7 o'clock, and I'll call this meeting to order. So first of all, thanks everyone for attending. This is an additional meeting, not a regularly scheduled meeting. So I recognize that it's taking extra time from folks, and I appreciate the attendance. So let's see, I think the first order of business, I'm looking, where did I put the agenda? Hang on here a minute. I think it's an approval of the minutes, but I want to confirm. That's interesting. I must have closed it. All right, well, I'll go by memory. So it's we have two sets of minutes to approve. First is from our February meeting, and the second is from our March 3rd meeting. So Janet, you want to, not Janet, Karen, you want to take it from here?
Sure. So the minutes from the last meeting were fairly simple, basically an outline of what we did rather than a blow by blow. And I didn't receive any comments in advance of the meeting on those. And from the February meeting, I just had those minor corrections from you, clarifying that it was a Heat Smart speaker who would be presenting at the heating and cooling event organized by Energize Valence. So if anyone else has any corrections, please let me know.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Well, first of all, any comments on either of the minutes? Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the February meeting. Don't all speak at once.
I'll
Still on mute.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting.
okay, we have a motion from Doug. Is there a second?
Yes.
All right, I see Michael raising his hand. We'll take that one. All in favor of approving the minutes from the February meeting, and Doug, I need you to turn on your video. Please raise your right hand.
I have to log out to log back in to get my video to work. If you give me a minute, I'll be right back then.
Okay, well, tell me verbally, are you approving the motion for the February minutes?
I am approving the motion.
Okay. Motion passed unanimously. Second motion to approve, I'll entertain a second motion to approve the minutes of the March 3rd meeting.
I'll move to approve them.
So
Can I
moved
do
by
that?
Karen. And the second,
I'll second them.
Doug
Doug.
seconds. Okay. Again, all in favor of approving the March 3rd minutes, raise your right hand.
I approve. Doug Sharp.
Okay, Jan, are you abstaining?
Yeah, I'm abstaining because I wasn't there.
Okay, fair enough. So please mark that there was one abstention, Karen. Thanks.
Do you want me to leave and come back so the video is up?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So the next item is the chair's update, but I'm going to give Doug a moment to log out and log back in. And while he's doing that, So we're going to have a little bit of not global warming tomorrow, but local warming. Last I saw, it's going to be in the 70s tomorrow.
Yeah, so that,
I plan to be out on my bike.
good idea.
I'll
Get some
second
miles under
that,
my
Jerry.
belt ones. What's that, Michael?
I'll second being out on your bike.
Yeah.
March 14th, 4 years ago, I have OneDrive that reminds me of pictures every once in a while. We had, I think, 12 or 14 inches of snow
On in
on
mid-March.
March 14th, 2018.
Yeah. Well, I haven't pulled up my snowplow guides yet. You know, that's a sure jinx. If I do that, then for sure we're going to have snow. Okay, Doug's back. Welcome, Doug. Okay, I have a few comments in terms of a chair's update. First of all, it came to my attention this week that the Alcott School is in the process of replacing their boiler or planning to replace their boiler. I think this was a surprise to many. And it came up during a FinCom meeting where folks were looking at the line items and Dean Banfield asked a question, what is this for? And currently the plan is to replace the boiler with a gas-fired boiler. Needless to say, a number of folks are distressed by this, surprised and distressed. I'm one of them. And after talking with a number of people, I decided to ask the school committee to come to our next CSEC meeting and tell us, you know, how they came to this decision. What were the parameters? Did they consider electric alternatives? How did this process proceed? Apparently, this has been in the works for 3 years. They have already embarked on the 3-year plan. They're to replace their heating system altogether. And this is the 3rd phase of 3 phases. So it may be too late to do anything about it. However, 2 more schools are lined up behind Alcott, those being Thorough and Willard. And so I'm concerned, others are too, but in particular I am, that we need to understand this process of how they made this decision. Because if we don't, it's likely to be repeated for these other schools. So I don't have anything more to report as of now. I think the school committee meets next week. We'll see what they have to say. But
Alcott is the brand new school, right?
no, Alcott's the oldest of the new schools.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, yeah, okay. Well, still a new school.
Yeah. And interestingly, they had problems with the airflow through the building after it was built, and they had to do some retrofitting. And I believe as part of that retrofitting, they added air conditioning. So I would think that warrants some extra attention, but we'll see.
Jerry, do you know if they're at least looking at a condensing boiler, or is just
They are looking at a condensing boiler. Maybe you know this. My understanding is a condensing boiler is more efficient than a conventional boiler, but not by leaps and bounds.
A lot smaller.
Okay, so I mean that would be an improvement, but on the other hand, you know, these boilers last 20, 30 years, and so we're locking in.
Yeah.
As you know, we would be locking in the gas service there for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you can get, you know, roughly 7 to 8% efficiency gain with a condensing boiler, but it's still, you know, given the state of things now, it's not a heat pump. It should be at least looking at that.
Right.
The funny thing is, with the gas boiler, there's still, I'm not sure about commercial, but with the residential, there's still incentives to buy them.
You know, that's an interesting comment, which I'll bring up in a moment, but let me, there was a meeting held by Heat Smart, I think earlier this week, going over the new incentives. I'll ask Brad to comment on that in a little bit. But yeah, there are significant incentives involved here. Okay, separately, I attended the Light Board meeting, I guess it was last week. I don't know if anyone else was able to attend. Doug, you were there. Okay, good. So during this meeting, the key topic there was a review of the strategic plan. And this was really prompted by Article 38 and the concerns it raises over the town's progress towards some of the sustainability goals, particularly around solar on municipal buildings. So CMLP basically went through the existing strategy. It was originally set in 2017 and is planned for to cover their plans for 2018 through 2025. So time is coming to review that. Effectively, they reported that their priorities right now are the advanced metering and smart meters, as well as development of time of use rates, both items of which are in process. Distributed solar is explicitly not on the list. They do have battery storage on the list. And there was kind of an awkward interchange regarding a slide on solar costs. It appeared to me and to others that I spoke with afterwards that slide was presented to try to claim that PPAs are less expensive than sort of rolling your own PV installation. And it was in my opinion, an inappropriate comparison. It's comparing apples and oranges, but I believe my perspective is they did that. That was included to try and paint the picture of why we don't need distributed solar. And I think it was completely off base. But at any rate, they plan to have an ad hoc meeting that is a not regularly scheduled board meeting on March 30th, at which point they intend to go through the Article 38 implications in much more detail. I don't know, Doug, if you had anything you want to add from attending that meeting.
I don't have my notes in front of me right now, but one of the takeaways that I was trying to listen about was whether, you know, in the realm of the solar area, there might be some support coming for commercial or business level organizations that have like tier 3 electric metering usage that might want to build solar arrays, and this kind of support that they might be able to get to evaluate that in the town. And I didn't get a sense that there was a great deal of support for that at this time either.
Yeah, I don't recall much discussion of that, but I do agree with you. I don't think there's much support. If for no other reason than this solar saturation issue is a big deal. And
Is that related to the grid issues and the capacity of the grid to absorb? Is that what it is?
Well, that's the solar saturation issue.
Right.
yeah, well, sort of. It's not about the capacity to absorb. It's more about the ability to feed current back to the grid.
Right. And the metering and all that stuff associated with it, basically.
Yeah.
So this
Now-
is a little bit the sort of recurring theme that happens all the time, right? So, it's this agenda that CMLP, and this is what I meant last time or 2 weeks ago when Matt when sort of the dysfunctional approach about what's going on, that they're driving their own agenda. And yeah, supposedly there are people participating, but it's really their own agenda. So now they're driving away from a distributed solar just because if they don't, they're stuck with what they have today, and they need to re-engineer their grid, basically.
Well, yeah, I think I kind of see it the same way, but I will say that they did talk explicitly about battery storage. And that could alleviate the solar saturation issue. So they do have some plans to deal with that, but it feels to me like they've never gotten to implementing or beginning to implement those plans. And Article 38 is kind of about that topic. That,
Yeah, but batteries, if you do batteries, you would have to do it at the distributed level to be basically to keep that energy there that you have utility, and that makes basically the distributed investment more expensive, right?
Well, you could do utility scale storage, which is what they're looking at or what they're considering. I think from their perspective, it's probably an easier management issue to work with utility scale storage than to implement a distributed storage mechanism. But
I think, in my view, last week we had a discussion about space to put PVs. Now we'll have discussion about space where to put batteries, right? I mean, this is sort of the same discussion, right? You're just pushing the needle somewhere else.
One of the questions I asked in the meeting, or I didn't ask, but I was listening carefully for, was the question of whether community solar would play a role in the town in the next few years, and how it might or might not. And I did get the sense that there was an effort, there's some project that they're working on that allows them to purchase community solar for the utility at a utility level, but not to make it available to the individual users of electricity. Like in a lot of communities in Massachusetts, there's a community solar option, but there isn't in the MLPs, and not in our MLP particularly.
Right. Yeah, I don't recall much discussion about that either in that meeting or at other times. I think the thrust, which is not a bad thrust, the thrust is to clean up the entire supply such that anyone subscribing to CMLP service gets clean energy. So that may obviate the need for community solar. I don't know. I haven't thought about it much, but that's just what's coming to the top of my mind. So at any rate, just before moving on, I'll just again reiterate, March 30th, 7:30 in the morning is the ad hoc light board meeting, if anyone else cares to attend. I do intend to be there myself.
When is that again? Sorry.
Excuse me, Hanny?
When was that?
March 30th,
okay.
Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday morning, 7:30 a.m. A couple more things before we move on. I think it was this Monday, Amanda and I met with Courtney. I can't remember Courtney's last name. She's the chair of CAV. So we had a good discussion. This was an initial joint meeting. We planned to try and do this monthly. I think the main thing that sort of came out of this is we will try and hold a joint CAB CSEC meeting, I believe in June. And the whole idea here is to try and foster better coordination, communication with CAB, between CAB and CSEC. It's not focused on CAB, but it's a bi-directional thing. I think that's it for my updates.
Amanda? How about? Great. Thanks, Jerry. So my detailed director's update can be found in the agenda packet if you want to read anything about ongoing projects. There's some information in there about Mass Save, and the new rebates, and there are some other updates. But I want to spend, I think I had about 5 minutes for the director's update. So I just wanted to highlight that Newberry Court does have an annual speaker series, and it's in honor of Chuck Roth, who was the director of education at Mass Audubon, and then was a resident at Newberry Court. And they came, the organizer of that came to me asking if I had any speakers to recommend. They really would like to have an in-person event. It could be at their auditorium, but they were also open to hosting it in other venues. It would be free and open to the public. And I thought this group might be a good group to get input from on what those speakers might look like. And this doesn't need to be a topic today, but say that it was scheduled in the fall, could or would CSEC be interested in supporting in somehow? And maybe that's just promotion or attending or, spreading the word, but wanted to put that out there as another partnership opportunity potentially. And I know we do have a lot to cover tonight, and I'm looking at the agenda and I was supposed to end at 7:20. So if people have thoughts, you can tell me tonight, or if you just want to email me, would love to hear your thoughts on who it could be. It could be someone local, could be, they do have a little bit of a budget. She mentioned if there was, someone prevalent that you thought would be good to try to get in. Yeah, so any questions on that ask? Okay.
Amanda, I don't know if this is helpful to you or not, but they used to have a committee over there called the CIG committee, and it was the Climate Initiative Group.
Yeah, they still do. And I think
I had been in communication before the COVID thing happened with a woman by the name of Bobby Robinson.
Yep. I've been connected with Bobby. She isn't the one that's organizing this event. I think the same person was going to reach out to them as well and see if they had any thoughts, but I think she's looking to get an initial list together. And the sky is the limit. I asked if there was a particular topic within climate action or sustainability that they might be interested in, and she said no bounds. So any topic areas.
One of the areas that they've been mincing about for a long time with the director over there is they would like to use electrification on a lot of the systems that they have over there. It's a big, huge commercial operation, in terms of the HVAC. And it would, like Mike McDonald, you were saying last time, that getting an engineering study done of the place and then being able to give them some feedback about what might or might not be a future for their facility is certainly an area that Bobby was very interested in a year ago. Now, maybe that's too technical. I think that one of the things that I ran into with we had planned to do a version of talk to Bobby's group of the Sustainable Home of the Future. And one of the things that was a little bit of an issue for a lot of them, the target audience for that is people that have homes. And the age situation over there made it a lot less interesting to them because they're not going to take those same kind of actions in the stage of life that they're in.
So Doug, they've got an acting executive director over there who actually has reached out to National Grid for some feedback on this, and we'll be meeting with them. But we still have to schedule it probably toward the end of this month. So word has filtered back, and they're at least interested in maybe having a study done, but it sounded like they really just kind of want to get a lay of the land what
Yeah.
some of the potential is.
Well, I think they're probably very sensitive to the cost factors of it. And they're trying to probably get a ballpark of like what that is going to even look like on that landscape.
Yeah,
Well,
Doug, and I think
yeah.
this is a little bit of a different topic area, and I think
Yeah,
definitely, electrification is a topic area that we could get a speaker on, and I think it sounds like they are working on it with National Grid, so that's great. Janet, I see that your hand's been raised for a
right.
while. Do
There's
you
a
have
couple.
I-
So
I-
Janet, why don't you go and then Brad after that?
I have a suggestion, and it's really so much as a question to Karen. Was what about Jane Hodgkiss or somebody like that to talk about fusion energy? Since there's that big program going on in
There
Harvard.
was a big White House event today on fusion. I'd be happy to ask her if folks think that that might be something of broad interest. There's a lot going on right now.
That thought has occurred to me of getting a presentation on fusion at some point. On the other hand, I don't know how much that directly relates to climate action in the near term. In the long term, no doubt. And I think it would be interesting to many folks from a science and engineering perspective. But I'm not trying to throw cold water on the idea. I'm just mentioning I've been of two minds on getting a fusion presentation, as it has crossed my mind before. Brad?
I would suggest potentially a speaker from Woodwell Climate Research Center, because that's a nonprofit group. They do some of the best research on the climate in terms of what's happening around the world. And as potential donors at Newbury Court, they should know about this group. It's an interesting talk which gives a nonprofit group the potential to get some support. Might be nice.
Michael?
Yeah, just a little off topic, but relevant. I just want to reiterate that for these types of scoping studies that we might be talking about at Newbury Court, those are free. So there's no cost at all involved with that. And CMLP will pay for half of it and sometimes all of it. So I just want to make that clear. There's no cost involved with this.
Thanks, Michael. Janet?
Another thought. There is a group called Elders Climate Action, which I'm not really involved with, but I know it exists. And since it's a group of elderly people in Newbury Court, maybe that would be a good thing if we could find somebody to let people know about that.
Okay, so I guess the question for you, Amanda, are there actions that you want one of us to take? Or is this, you're looking for volunteers, or where do we go with?
Yeah, I'll take these ideas, and then I told the organizer I would put together a list of potential people, and then I'll let her know if she's interested in any of these. Maybe she can reach back out to me, because we might have people that can make connections. And why don't I say I'll wait and to send it Monday morning, and that way if anybody has any thoughts over the weekend, you can email me. And then if I haven't heard anything, I'll send over the ones that we have, and I had a few kind of floating around too. And so we'll send that over.
Okay, great. All right, Karen?
Yeah, I was just remembering that I think in the last few weeks there was a fusion talk at Newbury Court. It was, I think, probably more on the technical side rather than the climate side. So depending on how that was received, they may or may not be interested in sort of the social awareness, acceptance, education side complement to that talk. And I know some folks at the Elder Climate Action. So if they do want to go that route, I'd be happy to check in with them to see who might be an appropriate speaker.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
somebody who's very much.
Another question, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe this is inappropriate too, but since it might happen in the fall, is there any possibility that Carrie Emanuel would speak further to them? Or would that be a fit or a not fit?
I think my 2 cents is let's see, that's a ways off for now. Let's see how things go with his talk and, you know, how he feels about it, how we all feel about it before we approach him or before we consider him as a speaker again. I have no particular issue there. It's just, I think, let's take this one step at a time. Okay, one other thing before we move on. Brad, could you give us a brief update from, I think it was the Monday Heat Smart meeting, where National Grid presented on new rebates, if I remember correctly. I was keenly interested on that, but I couldn't attend.
Okay, so what you're talking about, there was a Mass Energized community
Mass Energized.
meeting,
Okay.
on Monday evening, and we had 3 people from Mass Save, not National Grid particularly, although I think there may have been one connected with Eversource. And they talked about, you know, there's been fairly big changes with the National Grid residential program, both for market rate customers and for low and moderate income customers in terms of what they offer. So they presented a lot of information about that. I might even be able to get well, it might not be worth having a video of it. But so let's see.
Was there a presentation?
Yeah, it was a presentation by 3 people, coordinated about different aspects of what they offer, and it's relevant to Concord residents, which have a natural gas right now, but may soon be relevant to the oil heated customers as well, because CMLP is trying to get their rebates in place to match them.
Did they include any discussion of, were those rebates only for residences or also for commercial entities?
There was some talk about it, but not much, because we're focused on residential pretty much.
Okay.
But there was a lot of detail, and I can't remember it as completely. There was talk about the sort of $10,000 rebate level for people switching off of fossil into heat pumps and things like that.
Okay. Amanda?
I can speak to the commercial side of Mass Save, and that they do have some rebates for commercial customers that are natural gas in Concord. I mean, Mike has talked about some of that already with Newberry Court. And I think CMLP is trying to do the same. And I think just to kind of be clear about one thing Mike said earlier is, I think it's true that National Grid does provide the energy assessments for free, but currently CMLP provides the home energy assessments for free, but I'm not sure that they provide commercial audits. So the devil is in the details on that one. And I guess the main message is reach out early and reach out often to me or to CMLP, and then we can really go through it, because with both programs, there are nuances and there are little details. So just in case we have anyone in YouTube land that watches us later, do reach out, because there's help to get you to where you need to go.
One other question, and then we'll move on here. What about for municipal buildings?
Yeah, municipal buildings are eligible under the commercial rebate program for both entities.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments before we begin to dive into status and plans for the sustainability series? Okay. So, Hanny, why don't you give us an update or a review of how things are with Cooler Concord? Looks like you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yep. So we are ready to go live. I was waiting. I interacted with Brad earlier today to find out where he's at with his next round of feature update, because I wanted to try and synchronize it and really sort of push everything to production once his deployment is done with the new features. So the new features for everyone, as a reminder, allows to get an automatic response to the people who register, and that they're confirmed they're registered, and then would allow us after the fact then send them an email with the Zoom link and stuff like that, right? So it also allows us, I think Brad will correct me if I'm wrong, to customize that response for each one of the events. So if one event has no Zoom link, we don't need to mention it, but in the one that has a Zoom link, we can mention, the Zoom link will be sent to you at some point of time in the future before the event or something like that. So we can tailor that response. So Brad mentioned today that he's planning to have that done by end of this week, by the end of the weekend, correct, Brad? Is that what you said?
That's the plan.
The plan, right? So net, whether, things always happen with software. I'm very familiar with that. So, and hopefully nothing wrong will happen. But I think Brad suggested we should push to production and have people be able to see everything, and then we'll deal with how to go backwards and respond to people and stuff like that. Because if you go now and register, you're not going to get a confirmation. That's where it boils down to. Okay. So that's really sort of a collective decision we want to make. I'm happy to push everything to production. We will then need to go back to these people and perhaps manually send an email confirming their registration and stuff like that.
So the only missing functionality right now is the automatic
Correct.
email of these messages.
Yeah.
And that is anticipated by the end of the weekend.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let me mention a tangential thing, because I think it kind of bears on this a little bit. So the CMLP bill inserts have gone out.
Yeah. So Brad mentioned that, and I've never looked at the inserts because I get all the electronics, and now maybe go and look at the insert, and I've noticed that, right? So yes,
Right.
He did mention that as well. And by the way, I want to thank everyone that looked at the site and corrected my fat fingers and typos and all that stuff. So thank you everyone for your help.
Well, there wasn't very much of that in my mind.
Yeah, I know Amanda
Thank
did a
you.
lot of work, so she corrected a lot of my stuff. So
Doug, you're on mute.
I tested those codes that were on the card, just to verify that they did go to the Cooler Concord place they're supposed to do the registration, and that was good.
yeah.
Yeah, in fact,
Everything works fine. The text is good. Again, look, I think the only thing that if we promote, and I think it's fine, we just need to be aware that there will be people that will register between now and Sunday, Monday, right? That we need to get back to, basically.
And I presume it'll be easy to get that list of folks who've already.
Yeah, it's available on a per event basis. So
Okay. Well, what do folks think? Should we go live tonight, or do we wait to the end of the weekend? Any opinions?
Penny, how do you feel? Are you feeling comfortable that it should be okay if you went tonight?
Oh, I mean, it's just flipping a switch for each one of the events to say, go, this is a live event, and it goes. There's nothing to change. So from the work effort, it's peanuts, right?
I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I'd be happy to say yes.
I mean, it makes sense since the promotion is out already. And so people are going to go to that site and say, where is the registration, right? That's sort of the driver, which I think it makes sense that we go there.
Yeah. Janet, were you trying to add a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering how much extra work it would be to sort of manually go through completing the registrations or getting back to the people. And for that point of view, is it worth waiting till the weekend? It's only,
Well, look, I
it's
think
Thursday
people,
now.
the danger now, I think, Janet, is that people who have seen the promotion will try and go to the site and there is nowhere to be register. So, you know, I think we have a risk there of losing some folks because then they need to remember again or be reminded to go or whatever, right? So, you know, you see it on the spur of the moment, you go and register and you're done basically, right? So you need to remember to go again. So that's, I think, one risk. In terms of how much effort, look, we have 6 events. Chances are people will register for the first one first. How many registration will we have between now and Monday? Your guess, right? 20, 30? So it's 20, 30 emails. So it's not a big deal, right?
Okay,
think
well, if you
there's
don't
been-
think it's a big deal, then go ahead and
Amanda?
live.
By going live, does that mean that each of the individual events will appear on the events page?
Yes.
Because I can go to them now individually from that main page.
Yes,
And I
but
just
you're not going to the
RSVP.
production site. You're not going to the production site.
Oh, you are.
Is it on that
Yes.
link? Yeah,
Yes.
indirectly.
You get there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think you should go live. I think I'm looking right now. I see 2 emails of people that I think are from Concord that showed up in the last few days. I don't know if they went there to find events, but it's not going to be 20 or 30 through the weekend. It's going to be 5.
Well,
Not huge numbers.
it sounds to me like the general consensus here is to go live as there's very little downside risk. I mean, my own perspective is that I share the concern that you voiced, Hanny, that if someone goes to the site now, because it looks interesting to them and they can't register, they may not come back. So I want to make sure we capture people as best we can. So
I also just registered for an event, just as a test run. So I think
And
it's
it worked,
working.
right? I mean, the registration works, right? Because it toggles that thing you're registered or you're going or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it does. Actually, I see there is one person that registered for the keynote event.
okay,
Somebody
sounds
from
like-
Harvard.
sounds like there's practically no reason not to go live.
We'll do that. We'll
All
be
right.
done by the time we finish tonight.
So
Fantastic.
I guess my question, Hanny, was, will we have the events on this page or will it look like this and people will need to know to click on this button?
You will have each one of the events. I'm going to show you how it will look like.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Okay, let me share. It will look like this here. You see my screen?
Yeah,
So you have the main one, the main event, the keynote one, and then each one of the events will have its own little thing. Okay?
looks great.
Yeah. And actually, I forgot. I'm going to remove these old ones. Actually, on the production side, they will not be there. This is only on the test side right now, on the QA side. So it will stop at the last event showing will be the EV display one. Okay.
Okay,
All right. So I'll work on that. No problem.
all right. Any other questions or points of discussion on the Cooler Concord site?
Let's see if there are others that registered. It is keynote one. No, no record. So I think, you know, some people have seen it and went to it and registered, and I just checked one before. So there was one for the keynote one.
Okay. All right, well, I want to thank you, Hanny, for all the work you've done, and Brad, you as well, for enhancing the system and working closely with Hanny on this.
Sure.
I think it's looking fantastic. So it's going to be a big piece of what we're doing.
By the way, Brad, if you're taking feature lists,
Yep.
A good WYSIWYG editor and a spell checker.
Spell checker. Nobody ever
Yeah.
asked for that. You got it. You got it.
For a non-English speaking people, how about that? No, but the WYSIWYG editor would be very beneficial, because the rendering of the text is, you need to fiddle around some ways.
Well, I mean, it is a WYSIWYG editor, but it's a little bit not perfect.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay. Let's move on then. And the next item on the agenda is a review of each of the events. And what I'd like to do is just step through them one at a time to see, you know, what the status is, what are the next steps, that sort of thing. So Janet, why don't we start with you with the keynote address. What's cooking?
What's cooking? Well, I think at least you know what's cooking. And everything is going to happen. Mark Prawley from the Minuteman Network studio is meeting with Amanda, you, Jerry, and myself, and is that it? Was
Handy,
on
And,
Monday. Doug, okay, trying to remember who was coming to talk about logistics. I imagine that will involve, okay, there's going to be a screen up front. We need to have video of what's on the screen for the Zoom people. We need to have a couple of microphones in the auditorium section, and maybe there'll be a table set up on the I'm not sure whether it's going to be a table or whether I and the person from the Sunrise Group who will be doing the introductions will speak from the floor. But from the point of view of organizing questions, I think it might be better to have a table set up with some microphones. So I'm hoping that we'll get some input as to how to organize this and what needs to be done and what they can do and what we should be doing. And I don't know whether you have anything to add, Jerry, or anybody else with that, or Amanda.
The only thing I have to add, which is really pertinent for all the events or almost all of them, is what will we do as a committee to sort of take advantage of the moment to encourage people to take action. So I'm kind of imagining, and this needs to be worked out, but I'm imagining that we might have a table in the back, we meaning CSEC, or by the entrance or exits, and that it would be staffed by one or two of us from the committee. Maybe we have a heat pump coach there, but we would be prepared to talk to people who come out of the presentation and the discussion to say, yeah, this is, you know, I see the need. I want to do something. What can I do? How do I get started? I think we want to take advantage of that and be prepared to help them. So I haven't worked that out to any detail, but that's one thing, particularly at the keynote, I think we want to have. And we can work on this idea in a subsequent meeting or offline. But I think we'll want to do this. That similar thing at each of the events. The festival's a different thing. Or maybe we want to table at the festival and for the same purpose. But I think that's the only thing I have to add with regards to the keynote.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I would think we would want some good advertisement, not just mentioning of the festival, but actually showing, oh, the plans. You got to make people really want to be there. So that'll take a little bit of prep, probably, just of the plans, what exhibits will be there, and why you should invite all your friends and stuff like that.
Yep, agreed. One other thought, and I hope I don't jinx things by bringing this up, but in the event sign up exceeds our expectations, what do we do? Do we try to find a different venue? If so, what might that be? Brad, you're shaking your head.
That's hard to find another venue. You mean audience coming to Harvey Wheeler is more than they will allow?
Yeah.
That's why to do a hybrid event.
Well, this will be hybrid. I mean, I guess this is a problem we'd be lucky to have.
I mean, if there was overflow, you could tell people to just zoom in.
That's true.
I mean,
I
we
think
have
particularly for that event, we could always see if the other Harvey Wheeler rooms are open.
Right.
That's a good point. So that we should maybe talk about with Minuteman Network is, what happens if we need to do this across 2 rooms?
Good point.
I think we also won't know. Our RSVP doesn't say, are you coming via Zoom or are you coming to the event? So we won't exactly know how many people will show up that night either based on the RSVP.
True.
I think we have the opportunity with the fact that we have a list that we can make some decisions around. First of all, we'll know exactly how many people are planning to come, regardless of which, right? And we can make some allocation about saying, hey, capacity in the auditorium is full, please go to the Zoom link. Or if we get more capacity in some other location, we can tell them your location will be X, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of how we can manage that by emails, right?
Right. Yeah, the email function will be very helpful.
By the way, it's all up. Everything is up. I registered for one event. It works. I have my name showed up on the list and everything is working.
Great.
So, but when you RSVP, do you indicate if you're going live or over Zoom?
No, the only option is yes, no, right? So actually there's 3 options is interested, going, not going, right? And those are the options.
Yeah, so we won't know how many people are going to show up.
No, we will not. No, we'll know if you're going, we'll know how many are going to show up, but we're not asking them to make a choice between Zoom versus in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
no,
guess the
that's a fair-
contingency will be if we're close to capacity, we
Yeah.
could always send out a poll
Yeah.
that says, please tell us how you're planning to join. But
Yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
we can wait until we see if we are near that number.
I think often people will register and then not show up.
True.
Very easy to do. The other thing is I'm hoping that it can be recorded. I have not actually asked Kerry whether that's okay, but I would guess that he'd be fine with that.
Yeah, actually, I've been implicitly assuming we would record it. So that was one thing I wanted to ask the Minuteman Network fellow. But yes, if you could check with Carrie to confirm that that's okay, that we should do that.
And
Right.
that
Well,
if we store
I
that,
can also,
Yeah.
I can also send him, the link to show him that, sign up is happening and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be good too. Give him some an update on how things are going on our end.
Right, I'll do that. I'll do
Right.
that after the Monday meetings when I understand how it's going to work better.
Yeah, good. Brad?
So I assume we would like most people to come in person if we could, or at least feel comfortable. So the message out to them should be about where maybe include some COVID precautions and stuff like that. We're going to be careful, but that will, it'll be well ventilated. We'll have doors and stuff, but encouraging people to come in person. I don't know if everybody agrees with that.
I do. I'm also, well, I guess I'm an optimist by nature, but I'm thinking that people will be inclined to come because it's an opportunity to get out of the house. And
Maybe.
One of the things I heard today on the news, for whatever it's worth, is that there is a fear that there could be another bit of an elevation of the COVID stuff.
yeah, I heard that too. I think my perspective is I'm not going to worry about it. If I need to adjust, and go back and isolate, then that's what I'll do. As far as what we're doing here, the only thing, well, I guess there's two things that would be affected by it, two events. One would be the festival, and the other is the EV event, because those two fundamentally rely on getting together in person. So the keynote is a hybrid meeting. Your Sustainably Home Now, we're interested in making a hybrid meeting. The heat pump event, we could potentially make a hybrid meeting. So we could, when I say hybrid, I mean add Zoom or make it Zoom exclusively. So I think we have some fallback positions for multiple events, not necessarily for all of them, but
I think the only one, I mean, the festival is outside, the Arbor Day is outside, the EV is halfway outside, and we would just need to figure out if we could shut down part of the parking lot or something, which would maybe require police detail, which is a little costly, and we'd have to figure that out, but we could. Or we could postpone, maybe July would be better. And June might be different than April too.
Yeah.
So we
No.
can take it all in stride. I agree.
right.
Rain
right.
date, COVID date.
Right.
Yeah. Hanny?
A couple of observations and then maybe a question for Brad. I forgot to ask him that question. One is, look, the plus, we have the ability to communicate with the people who registered, right? And the thing that I think, Brad, I'm not sure, is there an outbound mail? You're envisioning there will be an outbound mail server to send out the emails, right?
Yep.
And what is the domain that will go? It will go what, Cooler Concord, or what will it go under?
It's going to come from massenergize.org.
Okay. Then the text needs to mention the Cooler Concord series, right? So that people
Yes.
know what it is. Okay, fair enough.
In the subject line as well.
Yeah, the
line.
subject line, right, and the event. So I think for me, and I think Jerry, you and I discussed it a little bit, as the feature gets rolled out for email confirmation, everything, we need to think carefully about the text we want to have on that email confirmation, right, to be as clear as possible.
Yes. So actually, let's talk about that right now. I don't know that we want to prepare that text this moment, but let's figure out who should do that. Any volunteers or suggestions as who's best positioned for that text?
Why not have each event person responsible for event draft the response text for the event,
That sounds fine.
right?
I think that's appropriate.
That's the way it's sort of,
Distributed.
right.
And then
In a self-preservation, I would prefer there was one where we just swapped out the basic information, because the town has asked to review everything, and I just checked in with Erin today, the communications manager, and she was in agreement of just reviewing promotional stuff.
So does that mean, are you volunteering?
And so if, yeah, I mean, I'll put together it will be very brief on like you signed up, name, date, location, period.
I think about, Amanda, think about the sort of the follow-up stuff potentially, right? Because we'll need to have some follow-up, I'm sure, right? Maybe reminding people that, hey, remember you signed up for this event, since we don't have the calendar stuff and at this time around, it is sometime down the road. So maybe to remind them, a second round, we send out the stuff to remind them, right?
So there's one email that will send when they RSVP, and then there's another email that will send like a week before or something.
A week before with a Zoom link and a reminder, something like that. If there is Zoom link, if there is no Zoom link, just a reminder of the event.
Okay.
All right.
all right, good. Michael, you got your hand up?
Yep, I just wanted to say I just signed up for an event, and the Mass Energize response came through to my email. And the response asks if you're interested going or not going. Just wondering would it be easy enough to say likely joining by Zoom or likely going in person? Is that an easy enough fix to do?
That's not an option available, Michael. You only have the three options: interested, going, or not going. Those are the three buttons that you have there.
It's a software limitation.
Yeah. It's just how it's designed right now. There's no options to say if, no, or stuff like that.
So I guess it would be, you could imagine the email has a link in it, that says, are you planning to go in person or by Zoom? In which case we'll send you the link. So give them I'm imagining sort of encouraging them to go in person, but if they click I prefer to go by Zoom, then they, so how do we capture that? That could be a link to I'm trying to
Like
figure
a
out how
Google
to
form or something.
Yeah.
That would be pretty simple. It's a bit of work.
If you're putting in,
Could it be a doodle poll
link,
type thing?
doodle
Like
poll.
indicate your preference? Is there something, a tool like that already available we could tap into?
My only concern about that approach is it does take manual emails afterwards. And some people will say, I'm coming via Zoom 1 minute after the event started, and they won't know where to get the Zoom. And someone would need to sort of watch it, even like 15 minutes into the meeting. And then maybe we could say, if you haven't joined yet and you didn't tell us, like, we're okay. So it does complicate things, but I mean, I'm happy to work with someone on that offline, but
yeah,
Well,
So-
or is that functionality we could add to the Cooler Concord, maybe as it gets closer to have a Zoom link right
No,
there?
you can do
on the page?
two things, right? You can do one. I think, Amanda, your point is fair, right? Some people will change their mind and do last minute things. You can't prevent that. And there's not much we can do to communicate to them really per se. I would not advise creating anything funky on the email with links in the email and stuff like that, because
agree.
that's not that's not reliable, right? So especially if you want to rely on it, it's not reliable. What I would suggest to do is one, like we said, the confirmation, and then the follow-up with reminder and the Zoom link if there is a Zoom or not, if there is a reminder. And then when the event starts, we post on the event page the Zoom link. So people will go to the events page and they will see the Zoom link is there. I can change the text and post it, right?
Right.
I think that once that Zoom link is there, people in theory could get to it without registering, right?
No, I don't think so, Brad, is it? Once you're registered, you go to the site, you're always logging in, correct?
Yeah, well, you're.
I don't think it would be all wrong if it was available at the last minute on the website, because then it would guarantee that a lot of people that were confused could find it.
Right. I think that's fine.
What
think-
you
I think
will not
the-
have, Brad, is a record of a definitive record of everyone that attended,
Right.
right? We have a definitive record of the people that showed up in person. But Zoom, we actually, Amanda, that's really a question. Maybe, I think this is a town Zoom link, right? So we would have a record of everyone that went to that Zoom.
Yeah, so it doesn't keep track of it. We could
Oh, it
ask,
doesn't?
we
Okay,
could ask that, when I've done it before, I just go into the participants list and I screenshot it. So we could do that if we really wanted to. I think we want to keep it simple. I think we can put the Zoom link in the reminder saying, here's the upcoming meeting, here's the Zoom link. If we really wanted to, we could say, we just want to make sure that we want to know how many rooms we need to open at Harvey Wheeler. Can you tell us if you're coming in person? We really hope you do. And then put in a link that says I'm coming in person or not,
Right.
if we really feel like we need that. And some people will and some people won't. And I think that's fine. But I think that's the way to keep it the simplest and cleanest. And I think I'm happy to put it on the website as we get closer. I think the towns, like the CSEC meetings, Zoom links are publicly available. So if there was like a concern about Zoom bombing or anything, that's something that we face anyway on any public meeting. So.
yeah. Brad, I can talk a little bit about the Zoom link in the email. I mean, I'm not sure how that would work, but we can chat about it a little bit, right? I'm not sure that we can have an interactive mechanism in the email to say, hey, I'm coming in person, click here, right? I'm not sure where that would go, because the response would go back to your mail server, which I'm not sure if it's designed to have inbound coming in.
Not at the moment.
Right. So that's another, right?
No, my idea was just like a Google form. Click this Google form, and then it'll say, thanks for letting us know. Are you coming to Harvey Wheeler or Zoom?
Okay.
And they will say yes or no.
That's the
Okay.
easiest.
We can try and work it that way. Sure. Well, let's try and,
Yeah, we can test it.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Also, one last thing, Jerry, that we mentioned, also we discussed earlier this or whatever over the weekend. If we're recording, we need to figure out how to communicate to people where to get that recording, right?
Well, not right away.
No,
That's for
but-
future use.
right. After the event or something like that. If you missed it, here it is and stuff like that. Or you want to listen.
Brad, will Cooler Concord have
Yeah,
that?
you can. You can change the event to be video recording of the
Mhm.
Okay,
thing, and then it can be there even.
Okay.
That's the way that's done a lot.
Wouldn't it be on the Minuteman Media Network YouTube channel automatically?
Yeah, which I think what Brad is saying is that we can change the event to complete and video link available, and that would go, there would be a link sending
To
to
the
the
YouTube.
Minuteman network.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Janet, we want to confirm that with Minuteman Network too. That's my expectation that it's kind of by default, they'll put the recording up on YouTube, but we should confirm that. Okay, anything else on the keynote before we move to the next event? Okay. Arbor Day. How are things looking for that, Amanda?
Good. The location is picked out. I've talked to CPW. They are feeling on track. Sandra from the garden club did mention that she needed to check in with their group about refreshments, because this is likely to be a larger event than they usually provide refreshments for. And so I also just let her know that we would have RSVP numbers and could communicate about that. And if it's a large group and we just have coffee instead of treats or whatever, I think people are always like something warm in the morning, or I do. So I think it'll work out. But I haven't connected more with Sandra on details, but I will say that the Friends of the Library may be planting a tree at Fowler sometime in 2022. And they were interested in potentially speaking and at having a representative speak at Arbor Day and say, in honor of becoming a tree city this year, we would like to plant something or at Fowler, and this is why we're doing it. And so potentially if more groups like that decide to participate like that, I'll just need to coordinate with Sandra. But yeah, feeling good. I think we're on track. So not too much more to report.
The seedlings, so have those already been ordered?
Yeah, I ordered them quite a while ago. I did get the bags and the bags have the printed instructions already on them, so that's nice. The Girl Scouts were contacted for the festival and they were interested, I think, in the seedlings, and they have a badge related to seedling and plantings. And so there was some information there that we might be able to attach that talks about how trees help with climate change and how planting trees relates to climate action. And so I think that's like an interesting handout. But Rennie is also ready to redo kind of the setup that they had at the libraries last year for the seedlings. And she's also the champion for the festival seedling giveaway. So really sort of looking to her to help with the organization of the seedling tables and things like that.
So I
And
guess
as far as getting the bags prepared beforehand, she had mentioned the last time that she had done this, it had taken some number of hours to do it. Are you going to use the Girl Scouts as a way of helping to bag the trees? Or do you need some more volunteers?
I did mention that. I didn't get a response back on if that would be a good volunteer project. The Mass Arbor or Tree Warden Association is the group I ordered from because they specifically send trees for Arbor Day. And they'll come to arrive for Arbor Day week. And I don't know if that's Monday or Wednesday, but for sure they should be here by Thursday, right? If Arbor Day is Friday. So that's what I offered to the Girl Scouts, was that maybe if they were interested, we could do a Thursday event. I also know the Friends of the library had expressed some interest. So there's some
Do you need
things
any,
to figure out there, but
do you need any of us in this committee to volunteer to help in that capacity?
I think if people were interested, I can let you know how that all shakes out. But I think this group is also doing a lot this week, that same week, for Carrie Manuel and for the festival. So maybe individually, if you're interested, you can email me and I'll keep you in the loop with Rennie and the Girl Scouts and the Friends. And if we get a day together to put them together, a date and a time that would work well for everyone.
Okay.
I have a couple of other questions. You mentioned about including some document or write-up about how trees help with climate change. Who do you have any ideas of who should prepare that, or who might prepare it, or is there something already available that you can use for that?
Yeah, so the Girl Scout tree planting toolkit had a page already. I have another person that's she's sort of an intern, sort of a volunteer, helping me with some things, and I asked her if she could pull together a proposal of what to attach to the trees based on all the input that we've received on it. And then that way we'll have something for people to react to. But I am also happy to share the toolkit with folks if people are interested in that.
Well, I think it's not obvious to me how we might leverage that directly for other events. But on the other hand, as I commented earlier, I think we need to have something, whether it's just personally pressing the flesh or a handout at each of the events to encourage people to take action. So that's maybe a separate thing, I guess. My other question.
I can just say that I've also talked to Rennie and to Anna, the volunteer intern who's helping, that we would maybe get people's emails so that we could follow up with them in a year. So in some ways their action is to plant the tree. But we also could put a different type of pledge on there, but with other pledge type things happening at the festival, we just need to coordinate that with what everyone else is asking people to do. So we can work on that.
Okay. One last thing. So Rennie or someone at the library for last year's event put together some nice web pages on trees. I'm forgetting exactly the topics, but they were connected with last year's seedling event. And I'm wondering whether Rennie is planning to do anything different or looking to reuse that. I mean, it's still available online. And I guess I'm thinking that at a minimum, somehow we should make sure that people who get a seedling know of these resources online where they can learn more about what trees mean and how important they are to our environment. So Rennie I learned about this from her. So she knows all about it, obviously. I guess I'm just suggesting you connect with her on that to take advantage of the library's online materials.
Yeah, I think she is planning to do mostly the same stuff. We've actually gotten a lot of input on what should go on the table and what should be curated, and there's a lot of other people interested too for the festival piece, and so I think there's a lot to cover there. And this is what the Girl Scout page looks like, just to give people an idea. This is too large really for what we would attach to a seedling, but maybe there is a way to put it on the table or to take some of it. And maybe the Girl Scouts would also be interested in creating something to attach to the seedling. So there's a lot to be worked out still, but
Okay,
they've got some graphics like this in here.
yeah, lots of ideas, lots of material. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have questions or comments about the seedling event?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, Amanda's probably aware of this. I admit I didn't read the article, but the New York Times just had an article about reforestation and planting trees, and that to be careful how you do it, that it's possible to do more harm than good. Like I said, I didn't actually read the article, but someone probably should.
I think the harm was coming from planting trees that weren't native.
Ah,
So, the native trees support the native
mhm,
animal life,
mhm.
insects and birds and whatever. So that was what
Was that it?
was about. I saw the article. I can't say I read it properly, but that was the theme.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, let's move to the climate festival. Laura is not here tonight, so we don't have her to give us a report. I haven't spoken to her in a little while, but my understanding is she has gotten a lot of positive interest and have a lot of folks that want to participate. Amanda, do you have any, or does anyone have any other knowledge besides that? Brad?
I do. I've met with Laura either yesterday or the day before. And they did confirm that the library can host the event, which is a good thing.
Right.
And so I'm working with her a little bit on logistics for this. And there's quite a number of exhibits. I think there's probably 8 or 10 exhibits so far. I can just read them off if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
In addition to the tree distribution that we've already talked about, the Girl Scouts might be involved in, it's going to be an induction cooking demo that the mothers out front will work on to prepare chocolate dipped strawberries. Makes you want to come to the festival right now. Spring bike tune-up clinic by Concord Bikes in partnership with the Bike Connector, which is a nonprofit that Wade Rubenstein runs up in Lowell. A sustainable landscaping booth that the Library and Pollinator Health Committee and CCHS Green Team are involved in. The CCHS Green Team is really excited about this festival. I think they're working.
What are the groups in that? Again, the pollinator group and what else?
The Library Pollinator Health Committee and the CCHS Green Team. And some other people might I'm going to connect some other people from First Parish into that exhibit as well.
It's possible that you would be hearing from people from the Concord Garden Club too.
Who would be hearing?
Laura.
Laura. Okay, good. A heat pump coaching booth. CMLP is planning to have a table and distribute information about their climate-friendly programs, and maybe CSEC should have a table right next to it or something like that about other things. I'm not sure. Concord Can, and this is the booth I'm going to be involved in, is going to have a Be a Climate Superhero exhibit, which is going to be for parents and kids. For kids, it's going to be, coloring, find out about how to make a superhero costume and what is a climate superhero. But for parents, it's going to be about how you'd be a climate superhero if you took some actions to lower your emissions and join. And we'll be using the Cooler Concord website on mobile devices to have people go on and record the actions that they've done, tally up their points, and give some sort of awards, and also to get interaction, a board where you can put your own ideas. What are your ideas for climate lowering emissions? Some people will have done things in their houses that they think are good ideas, and it's good to have that interaction. So we'll hopefully have some students to help with like face painting or making the kids particularly happy. There's going to be an exhibit, the League of Women Voters involved with Votes and Voices for Climate Action, which is a voter's guide to the town meeting, which is the next day, and voter registration and some other stuff, maybe a game. And I will community pledge board. I don't know exactly what this is, whether this is an idea or something that's definite or not, but this could be a interactive art installation where people can add their climate and sustainability commitments. There's going to be a composting exhibit and pledge and raffle that Mothers Out Front will be involved with. And then there's a list of a whole bunch of other things that I'm not sure are decided, but maybe a toy swap, EV and bike petting zoo. I don't know how that happens there. Seed swap, some other. So there might be some other exhibits that somehow get added on, but that's kind of the number. A number like 10 good-sized exhibits are what I think we can count on.
I can
And
add to that and say
Good.
that Amy Miller from Mothers Out Front is
Exactly.
going to organize the different booths, and they are going to be by topic area, and she's creating a form so different groups and individuals can sign up and say, I'd love to help with sustainable landscapes, or I'm really interested in being a climate hero, or I'm interested in waste and compost. And so the topic area, it will sort of, the areas will be organized by topic area, and then there will almost be subcommittees and champions of those. And so Amy's really kind of organizing that effort. The library is where it's going to be, but they are working out a contract between Mothers Out Front and the Library Corporation. I know that you and Brad and Laura had talked about putting a budget together for some of the things and needing to figure that out. I had set aside some funding for the series in general, which we haven't tapped into yet except for the seedlings. And so I talked to Jerry and about any other foreseen budget items, and we really couldn't think of any. So unless anyone else has an objection, we might, I mean, at the event, the festival is a part of the series, so it's a natural fit for that funding to go to that particular event. And then I've just been talking to Laura about other options. They may do a bit of fundraising, and because the town is a sponsor of the event, her and I have been figuring out the logistics of that and how that works. And does the town need to be involved? Do they not need to be involved? How do they need to be involved? And so there's just nitty gritty details related to that Laura and I have been working on. So a lot of great stuff, a lot of agree, a lot of good momentum, a lot of interest. And the EVs, at one point I heard there would be food trucks at the event and that they would block off a few spaces, maybe surrounding the food truck. There could be EVs on either side or something. So that at least they're near and people could look in. Maybe EV owners may not want food in their car. So we'll have to be careful on that one, but.
Amanda, one of the things that I had communicated to from the list that Jerry had was the people at Concord Academy and specifically their green team. And they expressed an interest. I sent the email to Don Kingman, and he got back to me saying that he's investigating getting a volunteer group together to put a table out for them. And
Yeah, I think it would be good to loop Amy into that. Also because I think Delphine from Sunrise was going to reach out to Concord Academy's Sunrise group. And so just so everybody's coordinated on that, I think it'd be good. That's where the form will come in handy. So people can fill out a form and we have a centralized place. So hopefully that'll come out next week. But I would loop Amy. into that.
I had it, I pointed him to Laura Stephen and
Okay.
asked him to communicate with her.
Okay.
Good.
It'll make its way then. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, I'm looking at the hour and we're running behind schedule here, so I want to move on to the next event. Heat pumps. Sharon, what's cooking with heat pumps?
Well, I did get names from Janicetti of people that she thought would be, well, is confident will be interested in sharing their stories, and I've reached out to them.
Excellent.
And I'm gonna need to talk with someone who knows more about, I presume that there, we'll have projectors, what do we need to do about, getting the facilities ready? What else do we want? Do we want to have refreshments? I mean, it's in the evening. I'm not sure we really need refreshments. Are we planning to do that in general? I thought it'd be good to have a table or two at the back, maybe one for CSEC, maybe one for CMLP, if anybody's interested, or at least ask them if they want to do that. We'll have two events that will still be coming up at that point. So have flyers for the EV workshop and the sustainability workshop available. So there's still plenty of logistics to figure out.
Right. So.
I was thinking about inviting vendors. I wanted to get thoughts on that, and if we think that's appropriate, which I think it is helpful, but I want to confirm that other people thought that was appropriate.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, but my sense, and it's only a sense, I wasn't directly involved in it, but my sense is that there's I don't know if it's a fine line or thin ice or what, but there's some concerns about promoting particular vendors. The town does not want to do that. And so the question might be, if we invite someone to come, some vendor to come, a commercial entity, does that constitute some endorsement of them because we're not inviting some other one? I don't know.
Imply endorsement. Mm-hmm.
I might recommend asking the coaches or Jan, because the rebate for the air source heat pumps, there is a preferred contractor list, and I think there's also a preference on which heat pumps you purchase. So maybe they would have if the focus is the rebate, maybe it could, instead of just inviting one or two, maybe it's a email to the whole preferred contractor list to say, we're having this event, do you want to come? And that way it's open and it's not selective, and it's directly linked to the requirements of the program.
Right. Well, I know we had that. I mean, I met vendors at the big Cooler Concord event a few years ago. So I know there were vendors there.
Yeah, there were also vendors at the landscaping fair, and nobody object to that.
Okay, great.
Right.
Question for Sharon. In regards to you're getting somebody from a boat or from the heat pump coaches that CMLP is going to provide at that session that you're doing, I'm imagining at the other event that we're doing, which has to do with the home of the future, the sustainable home, that we may want to have a table where we have CMLP representatives or some of the one or at least one heat coach there, maybe we should ask collectively for them to participate in 2 events.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think Jan has already talked to Ethan about being available for May 11th, I believe. But I think I can confirm that and ask if he can be available, or if not, if one of the others can be available. Somebody can be available for the 25th.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Doug, it's your sustainable home now.
I knew you were going to say that, Brad.
Hey, Sharon, I'm just curious, is this only technical, or is there going to be some discussion on incentives and financing also?
I think we want to touch on I think we want to touch on that, at least what the CMLP is, and I think in the tax situation, which I believe at the moment there isn't anything for air source heat pump, but there is for ground source heat pumps.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a good idea and partner well with the technical discussion. It seems like it would be the next logical question. Okay, I love the idea, I love the concept, love the technology. So what do I do?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if any of our speakers are planning to address that, but I can bring that up.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Steve, I forget his last name, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he would be open to, concluding his presentation by saying, by the way, when we're all wrapped up here, there's some heat pump coaches that are available that you can talk to right now.
Well, and if maybe we have the coaches should be up on this, I hope. So if none of the other speakers feel prepared to address that, the coaches could introduce themselves and mention what the rebate and financing.
Right. Yeah, because the speakers are speaking on their case studies.
Right.
Yeah, they're probably not going to be familiar with the latest rebates. They're probably just familiar with what rebates work for them when they did their installation.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of my point, is that things are changing almost weekly right now.
Yeah.
And actually the 3-year plan isn't even fully finalized yet. So it'll probably be different during your presentation than it is now on how these are approached. So.
Okay.
For the other events that we're having at this time of day, I haven't heard anybody mention, but I'm sorry, I apologize for my tardiness. Are we thinking of having any kind of refreshments, or just, bring your own bottle of water?
We haven't talked about that.
That's one.
I think it's late enough in the day. It's not really called for. It's not like breakfast where people are really anxious for coffee. It's certainly simpler if we don't, but.
I guess I'm inclined to keep it simple.
Okay.
Right now. I think the Arbor Day event's a different situation, and some treats or some drinks there might make more sense than ours. I think, as you point out, Sharon, this is late in the day. Might be after dinner for everybody. So water might be nice, but there are fountains at Harvey Wheeler, so there'd be no need for us to do that. So I would say right now, keep it simple and not provide anything unless someone comes up with a better motivation.
I think we should have several pallets of plastic water bottles to hand out.
Your sustainable home of the past. All right, speaking of sustainable homes now, Doug, you want to give a little update?
We are having a meeting on Monday, I guess, to talk to the video group about doing it as a hybrid. And I take it we are going to do it as a hybrid now. And we just have to work out the details of how are they going to be able to do all the camera work for us? That's the question.
I think that, I mean, from my perspective, it's not a done deal that it'll be hybrid. It depends on how much they can do for us.
Right.
If they can do a turnkey job, then I'd say, yeah, we should do a hybrid. I think there's quite a bit of benefit for not a lot of extra work. And Sharon, you might think about that too. But yeah, the Monday meeting to me is kind of will be the deciding factor. We'll see what they're up for, how much they can do, how much we need to get involved, that sort of thing.
And are you going to ask them about multiple events at that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to ask about all of them and let us know.
Well, what I was thinking we would do is first, the most important one's a keynote. And then, assuming that all comes together, then is, well, what about your sustainable home now? What would that involve? Can you, Minuteman Network, take this on as a turnkey sort of thing? Or if it's not a turnkey, what do you need from us? And if you want, Sharon, we can ask them about the heat pump event too.
Yeah. Please.
Okay, will do.
So we haven't completely figured out the tabling situation. We have to figure out how many tables we're going to have. I think we're going to have a CSEC table. We'll probably have a heat pump table or an abode heat coach table. And that could also be combined with CMLP. And then in terms of the other areas, like there are 8 agenda main focus areas of the presentation. We may seek to find some representatives that can represent those other areas. And we haven't quite. One thing we did talk about in terms of getting a little clearer about the content, Jerry and I are planning to do, if we can, a dry run review of the material that we've got on April 12th, I believe. If is that the right date, Jerry?
Just a minute, I'll tell you. Yes.
So,
April 12th.
So I think we'll go through the material one time and just see how we're feeling about it, and as need be, make adaptations to what we're trying to communicate. And one of the questions that I had, in the description of it, it was labeled as a workshop, and I have envisioned this more of as a dialogue and a conversation, because it's not like we're going to have activities like a workshop would have for people to do. So I don't know whether that could be adapted in the description of it.
Well, I think the workshop term is being used a little liberally here.
Okay.
At least that was the way I was thinking about it when Amanda and I fine-tuned some of the titles.
Well, it's too late to change that because of the communication's out, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I think I would just, as we prepare to talk to Minuteman Media on Monday, that's the major, like the keynote speaker is very well set up to be a hybrid event. And unfortunately, discussion is a lot harder to do hybrid. So a presentation with a Q&A afterwards, that's very sort of formal and organized, is pretty easy to do hybrid, but something that's more discussion, free form, needing to pass a microphone around to a lot of people is a bit harder. And so just be thinking about what that would look like.
The format that we're entertaining using is one which is based on reviewing the 8 or 9 topical areas that are covered in the brochure and posing a set of questions at the outset of each one to our audience to get them to think openly about what are their questions too about those topical areas, and then to come to some of the come to a set of pages about the topic, you know, that we've already thought through, and there are some guidelines for and suggestions for about what's going to happen in the town around those particular types of things. Like if somebody's interested in recycling and waste reduction, what are the choices that they have? Or if they're interested in water preservation and limiting the use of water, why that's important and what that involves.
Well, I think that the point Amanda is making is that having a discussion or a visual change of focus from you and me being up front as presenters and having people ask questions, that may be a challenge for Minuteman Network to handle smoothly. I think that's the crux of the issue. It's not the material itself. It's really how we video, how Minuteman Network videos, not just video, the audio too. How do they deal with a speaker over here, speaker out front, then a speaker over there, that sort of thing. So that's I think the issue we need to discuss with them is this, do they see this as viable, given the way that you and I want to engage the audience? So I think that's the nut of the issue here.
I think having some kind of a recorded element of the session for afterwards could be a benefit to have that, though. I must say that's enticing too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hoping we can brainstorm with them a little bit on how we can make this work.
Anyway, that's about as far as we've gotten so far.
Yeah. Okay. Last event, and then after that, we'll get to some promotional topics. Janet, what's cooking with the EVs?
Mark Scribner, who is the EV specialist now hired by CMLP, has agreed to be there on the event and to bring some electric vehicles, give some suggestions as to what he might bring, like the Ford Mustang Mach-E. And then Amanda has arranged for some spaces to be cleared in front of the building, or to be reserved for the electric vehicles. I was away I was away for your last meeting, and of course the last electric vehicle working group meeting, so I haven't spoken with them recently. So I don't have a whole lot more to add.
So the sort of ask questions part, or get your questions answered part, how do you see that sort of playing out? Is it, completely informal with, you and Mark and perhaps a couple of us being there available to talk as people come up, and we just have these informal dialogues, or do you have some other ideas?
I was thinking that indoors, well, certainly looking at the vehicles would be a lot of informal questions, but I was thinking indoors there'd be 2 or 3 tables. I'd like to have a computer set up to illustrate how you find chargers. Where are they? What are the, And be nice to be able to talk about, well, the different kind of plugs that are there. I have, I haven't really completely formed all the ideas yet.
So,
And I think it should be, it'd be good to work with the electric vehicle working group to see what their ideas are too.
right,
So I
right,
think we have time for this one, so we can
yeah.
get the details ironed out later.
I will say, your idea of having different kinds of plugs there, I think I like that, because I'm a visual hands-on kind of person. I think it would be, for people like me, it'd be handy to be able to look at them and pick them up and compare the different ones. So I don't know if Mark has access to those, or if someone can bring some different ones.
Yeah, I mean, it may be, maybe something photographic too.
Yeah.
Or bring your
things-
110 charger.
I can bring my, charger from my car, which,
Mhm.
shows what plugs into my car, for
Yeah.
the lower voltages. The higher voltage plug I couldn't get hold of. I know at the EV events that the CMLP has organized, they've had the kind of plug that, like the dryer outlet plug that you can get an adapter to plug into that kind of outlet for most electric vehicles for 240 volts.
Well, yeah, it sounds like there's more definition work needed here, but also there's more time. That's the last event.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, when's the next EV working group meeting?
Check my calendar. It's
Well, that's not that important.
no, it's not. It's on the 30th.
Already, okay, so that's 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. Okay. We're quite a bit behind on the agenda. I apologize for letting the time slip away. Are there any other comments or questions on any of the events before we talk about promotion activities? Okay. So I think I've got two things that I wanted to talk about promotion wise. Amanda, I don't know if you'll have any in addition to this, but the first is the contact list. I'll bring that up in just a moment. And then I have a separate list of places where we can put posters and flyers. So let me pull up first the contact list, which we looked at last week. Now I need to
I added a couple of things when I looked at it today,
Okay, good.
and I couldn't see how you edited, so I highlighted the lines that I added.
Okay. All right, so this is the file we looked at last week. I think the only difference here, it looks like Janet, you're, let's see, let me widen this. These are the areas that you filled in. The thing that I filled in was this column. Some of these were filled in at the last meeting, but I filled this in completely. So almost completely for the items where we didn't have, or I didn't have a contact list, except whoever's editing that, which I'm guessing is Doug, that's CCHS, that's not CA. So what the way I'm envisioning we use this is that each of us having several contacts assigned to us. So we'll just go to the top. So Amanda last week signed up to contact all of these municipal groups. I added a couple more in here for her. I took the liberty of putting your name down, Amanda, for example, these two. And then as we go down the list, I stuck people's names in. Brad, I included you on a handful, small handful of folks that my impression is you already have relationships with them, so it might be best for you to reach out to them. So as of tonight, we're ready to go. You know, the website is operational. We have a media toolkit that we can show you in a moment. We have an email template for you to use. So when you reach out to folks on this list, you can use the email template, which maybe I should bring up right now. Right, actually, before I bring up the email template, any questions on this list? Everyone on the
Jerry, I'll just say that the green is actually to indicate that I did that today.
Okay.
And I don't know, this one in red it was marked as an A-frame, and I didn't know what that meant. So you can email me what you meant by that later. But
okay.
I was using this for internal tracking of like who have I reached out to
Right.
is in green. And as you can see, the sustainability newsletter, if I'm lucky, I will get to work on it tomorrow. And then once I get that sent out, I'll turn it green.
Okay.
Right.
Let me.
One of the things that I did for what it was worth, I haven't done it yet, but I'm getting ready. I took all the emails that were listed under my name, and then I took the email template and I prepared an email that is going to go out when we give it a go. And if there's an edit to the content of the template still, I can still make a change. But I was planning to get my set of email addresses all to be sent out as a bulk to the audience. And instead of using a hello name, an individual name there, I used hello friends or something of that nature so that it could be generic to all the people that were on the list, to shorten the cycle of how long it would take to send emails to every individual person or group.
Are you doing them a blind copy so they don't all get each other's email address?
I'll probably, yeah, I will.
Yeah, I'm fine. Personally, I'm fine with that. Period. You know, I think if there's someone that you know or have a particular relationship with, it might be better to send that to or address it to them directly. But certainly there's a lot of folks on here that I'll speak for myself. A lot of folks I don't know here. I think it's probably true for everybody. And for that, you know, a hello friend or hello sustainability friend would work just fine. So here's the template that Amanda put together. It's pretty simple. I think the main thing here is this line right here. It has see attached or download materials from the Google Drive. So the download materials has a link to this directory here, promotional toolkit. So these files are all available to these folks.
Are these open? Are these open to just our group?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Is it open to anybody who clicks the link, or is it only people that it has specifically been shared with that will be able to get to that?
This particular folder is anyone with a link can view. So if you're already shared on this, you should be able to edit it. Like our group should be able to edit it. but that specific link, like I tested it in like an incognito Google Chrome and like on a different browser, and it just allowed me to edit it to view it, not to edit, to delete anything or to change the text or anything like that. So
But you can still download.
yes. Yep.
And this is still in the Google area. It's not in the public space that's on the town server or anything, right?
Correct. It's all right here. It's in this folder with my
Got it.
cursor.
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay. Now, one thing just occurred to me, Amanda. Let me go back to the template. So Amanda and I had talked about making these materials available both through an attachment and from the Google Drive. The rationale being some folks are more comfortable dealing with Google Drive, others are more comfortable dealing with attachments.
Jerry,
But what just a second, Doug. Amanda, what just occurred to me is, do we have a zip file or a folder that's set up to be attached? Because I didn't see that.
No, we don't, but I think if you actually downloaded the entire folder off of Google, it would do it as a zip. But I can send everyone the test email and then you can see what it looks like. The one you'll see in the promotional toolkit that there are images for every single event. And I think that's an option that very few allies will use. And so in the test email, I just included the overall series images on the toolkit itself in the PDF of the poster. So why don't I just send that test email to folks, and then you'll see what the attachments are that I recommend that you include, I guess.
But just be sure there's not a size. I'm just looking at the file sizes here. They look pretty small. Two of them are not showing though. Those are images.
Your folders.
So I know our company, yeah, so these are pretty small. All right.
Yeah, these are pretty small.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Doug, did you have another question?
just a small glitch that I ran into. One of the contacts that I had was for the Concord Garden Club, for example, if you look at the list. And you see how the URL for the contact of them is a URL. It's not a email address.
What line number is that? I don't see it.
Well, look at the Mill Dam Nursery School. That would be example.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Where it takes you to a contact page. Most of these can't receive anything but text. And the image of the listing of the events doesn't resolve. And also the download link doesn't resolve. It takes it out of hypertext. And what I had to do was I had to put in the URL that I copied that was behind the download thing into that to make it work properly for those particular types. And I don't know whether they're gonna, it's not very friendly, but it's at least.
Well,
it lets.
I'm not sure what to say here, except that we'll do the best you can. You know,
Right.
I don't have a better address, you know, for example, for the Mill Dam, or basically when there's a URL listed, it's because that's all I had available to me in putting this list together.
It's no fault of yours, believe me. It's just, but there is a workaround for that you can just put in regular textual. If you copy the line from if you go to that site and then you copy the URL from it and then substitute that for the download, it will allow them to still get there as a textual thing. it has an HTTP thing in the front of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Other than issues with URLs, any other questions or concerns about this?
Do you
Again, let
want,
me,
do you want us to fill in those green bars when we're done?
yeah. Yeah, for example, here, this allows us, these two columns, first outreach is, ideally put a date there when that occurred. And then in this column is a follow-up. The idea being, this is the initial contact, and then we'll follow up in, early, mid-April to remind them that the series is about to begin and ask them again to promote this.
Well, remember that most people who do promotions have deadlines. So
Right.
having them do it, some newsletters go out on April 1st.
Yeah.
So you'll want to be
Make
well
contact.
ahead of that
Yeah.
for anybody who has a newsletter.
So
Yeah.
you're asking that
Correct.
the people
They-
that you contact, you're asking them to let you know if they've tweeted or if they put it in a newsletter, in an email newsletter or something. You're getting the feedback from them to fill that in.
Yeah, to fill in for this column here, the follow-up outreach status. System.
I'm confused. I mean, that's a blank column, but you've got columns filled in with green. So maybe because I missed the last meeting that I'm not following this completely.
So over here is the, I have to admit, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to this area, but the idea here is to note what medium a particular contact is likely to use. So,
Okay. So it's not what they have used, it's what they're likely to use.
We may not even know that, though.
we may not. I'm not too worried about these columns. I sort of lifted this from some previous spreadsheets that were used in the past, but I think these two here are the most important ones.
Yeah.
The first outreach and then the follow-up.
Okay. And the follow-up is going to be the same email as for a second time, or is it going to be something different?
Good question. We don't have a template for that. I think that's more free form. You could forward your initial email and say, just checking in to see, how things are going. Were you able to use our materials? Were you able to send something out? Is there anything we can do to help you? That kind of thing.
Okay.
I missed that. When you say email, so maybe I'm repeating Janet's question here. Are we emailing a newsletter or what are we emailing?
We're emailing
An email.
which let me go back and show that again.
Sorry, just like.
Amanda just actually sent that
Okay,
out,
that's-
I think.
No, that's something else. That's a response
something?
email for registration.
Oh, wait a minute. So, wait a
So
minute. What did
here-
Amanda just
Didn't
send out?
work.
Okay, this is the thing that we're sending. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just got that from Amanda. This,
Yeah. So Amanda, just what you sent is what we'll be sending, correct?
Yeah, so you can certainly, you could even just forward that email, edit the subject line, remove my signature, and you would be good to go.
Right.
And I will say, I personalize mine because I work regularly with the people that were on my list. So I sort of said, hey, here's something I was checking in with you on. And I also tailored mine because I know, again, I work with them regularly. So some of them I knew would want an attachment. Some of them I knew would want the Google Drive. So I think, if it's personal, they may be more willing they may look at it more deeply, was my thinking. So I sent them individually, but I think that's up to everyone. Like Jerry said, you can keep it simple if you need to or want to.
Yeah. And how
Is
about
that a-
timing on the second email? Do you have anything in mind for that, or just a couple weeks later, or a couple weeks before the event, or?
So this is March 7th.
This is different. This is,
So hold on, Doug, just a second. I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks from now. Does that make sense to you, Amanda? Is an appropriate time frame for a reminder?
Yeah, so I also have all of the social media scheduled for all the events already. I put it into the social media calendar. And so the first one will go out on April 2nd. So if you wanted like an excuse, you could say, hey, if you've got social media, we just shared our first post, go ahead and go share it. Or if you haven't had a chance to send it through your email, you know, would really appreciate it. I think like Jerry said, it can kind of be free form. Because you may have heard back from people and they'll say immediately, I posted it. And you may not need to follow up with them, for example.
Brad?
I would suggest not waiting 3 weeks. I would suggest following up with within 1 week of when you send something. If you don't hear back from them, it means that they got it. They either didn't notice it or they, it got lost in the email. There's no reason to wait a long time, in my opinion.
Well, the only reason I suggested a little longer than that was that I don't want there to, I was thinking it's not a good idea to have too much time between promotions going out and the actual events. So if our recipients take action on this reasonably soon, say within 2 weeks themselves,
yeah,
then there's going to be 4 weeks before the first event, 5-6 weeks before the second. And so there's a big gap there.
right.
But I think the main thing that I would emphasize here is get that reminder out. Whether you do it in 1 week or you do it in 2 or 3 weeks, get the reminder out. Yeah, go, Brad. Again.
So this is in that email you're showing is a JPEG, doesn't have any hot links in it. It's not linked to anything, I don't think. But you want them to easily put links in whatever they send out so that people can say, yeah, let me click this and go to the website. Is that all, without having, I wonder if this should kind of have a list of links you can use or something, if this is easy enough. I mean, I would know how to figure it out, but most people.
I'm a little confused. Links to what?
Links to the Cool of Concord website so that the people who receive their promotion just get there and
Flip it.
get
Yeah.
to the event they're interested in.
This is what
So-
the QR code is. The
yeah,
QR
that's
code.
what the QR code
So
does.
I think it's because we haven't showed the toolkit yet. So Jerry, if
Okay.
you show the toolkit, this
Yeah,
is what will be
Yeah.
attached to the email, and it will also, and that's what's hyperlinked in the email. And
Okay,
it has text that has that exactly, Brad. It has a
Okay,
link
good.
to the website to register. And the idea is they would
Oops,
lift
that's
the
not it.
text. They would lift the text out of that toolkit and drop it into whatever medium they need to put it into or want to put it into.
here we go. Okay.
okay.
And I agree, it might make sense to have a direct link to the sign up web page in that email. No?
Right.
That's what the
Yeah, the QR code does that.
QR code.
Well, I know what QR code does, but you gotta, not everybody knows how to read a QR code.
Right.
It's more awkward than just clicking on something.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, if we're sending out attachments because we're not sure if someone will be able to access Google Drive, then I would think you have the same thought process for, it's easy enough, right? Just put the link in there.
Right. I guess I would try to send them the text with hot links in it, a block of text with hot links in it. That is the summary, like in section A of this document, or maybe just stick that in the email.
So what part of this are you suggesting goes in the email, Brad? I'm not following.
I think he's
Okay.
saying option A of the newsletter section.
Yeah, so option A, but put the links in all of those lines.
So
I am completely lost about who's doing what to whom right now.
yeah, so
Okay. Completely lost.
so let's reset here for a second.
Right.
This email is not intended for someone who wants to sign up.
Understood. But so
Okay.
let's say I'm going to send something to the school.
But just a second, Brad, just hold on, just 1 second. So for Hanny's benefit, the reset here is this email that we're looking at, this email template we're looking at is intended to go to those folks who themselves will send out information about the events, whether it's through an email letter or a newsletter or a social media posting. That's what this email is for. Okay,
Right, but
Brad.
this is not all in. This is not all in, Jerry. You're saying we're sending this plus also attaching a whole bunch of things.
Yes.
Right. And that's
I would suggest just send one link, which is the Cooler Concord /events. And then whoever they send it to can just figure it out from there, just like everyone else who signs up.
Well,
We don't have to have a half dozen links.
So I'll just say that we can test, maybe we test it and we see how it goes. And if we don't feel like we get a nice response in our follow-up, maybe we can change what we put in the follow-up email. So this structure is based off of how MCAN does their social media asks for other organizations and allies. And so we
But
can test it and see, and if it doesn't work, then in a follow-up email, maybe we can use that option A to send out to people that they can just forward on to others.
So I think about more than half the people on that list are going to see, oh, I can go and look at a social media kit, a media toolkit. That sounds like a lot of work. I'm never going to get around to that. And so I just giving them kind of exactly the, in the email, here's the text you could use. I think it's an easier ask. Oh, I'm just going to take that text and stick it in my newsletter.
We did do that for the climate friendly. I was just looking back at some emails that I sent last fall. We had the online, what was it called?
Yeah, the climate friend, the EVs and heat pump thing.
Yeah.
And organized.
So we said, dear person, on behalf of CMLP and the town of Concord, it'd be great if you include the attached flyer or announcement included below in your next newsletter to your community. It's important promotional message, blah, blah, blah. Next paragraph, I've attached a social media post, which we'd appreciate you adding to your social media platforms. You might wish to accompany the post with the following tweet link statement. Gives you a tweet link statement that includes learn more and register at, and gives a link. And then it had an attachment of the flyer that would be like the flyer we currently have that had the,
I like that.
like the JPEG.
Yeah.
Can
you,
that.
I mean, can you send that to all of us? So I don't think I have that. If I did,
I can.
again.
Who shall I send it to? Yeah, I have a bunch of them because I sent a bunch out last fall.
I don't know. I mean, I personally would like one, but I want to send it to the committee. I don't know. Or are we constrained to do it Amanda's way?
I'm just a little worried that we're going to fractionate the way that we're approaching it when we need to do it in a collective fashion to start off with. And I think this recommendation, the way it's laid out, isn't bad. It allows us to take the listing of the email addresses that we each have our names associated with, and then on Monday or Tuesday next week, send this short email out to them. And if there is confusion, that could be perhaps what the follow-up letter could help resolve. Maybe it would be worth it for you to create a template for that second letter that you have in mind, Jerry.
Yeah, right. That's an oversight so far that we don't have that. I think practically speaking, it will take some effort to restructure this. Well, number one, to reach a consensus on what this restructured template should look like. Because there's a balance between brevity and digestibility, for lack of a better term. So Amanda and I, in working on this, we tried to make it brief and engaging and simple. And the various suggestions that all of you are bringing up, they make sense individually, but I worry that this whole thing becomes a little too complicated and that people don't read through it because they look at it and go, oh, there's too much here.
Well,
now, I think what Doug is suggesting makes some sense to me is if we send this out as is, or pretty close to as is, and then reach out to a few folks we send it to and see, how did this, were you able to use this? Get some feedback, and then send a second follow-up that has some of these other suggestions in terms of links or information in it. That's making some sense to me.
except you'll miss the deadline for all the newsletters that go out for April 1st. And most of the people will say, I don't want to go download toolkits. I want, just give me the text that I want to stick in my newsletter.
Could you take the text that's in the Cooler Concord Sustainability Series? If you had just those ones, which has the date and the title, everything that's in that blue circle.
Yeah.
And you put it right above the graphic.
Got it.
So that it could be textually.
So
Let
me make sure I understand what you're describing, Doug. You're saying, take this where my cursor is.
Yeah.
Embed this information in this email.
Yes. Textually.
Yes, textually with links to each of these.
Yes.
Yes. In addition to including the attachment or the picture.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that it's easy to copy and paste.
I think I would like a sentence added at the end. If you have any questions, please contact me, because I think there will be people who are confused by this.
Okay. So Amanda, what do you think?
I guess what I'm hearing is that in some ways this content already exists. And so I don't know if it overcomplicates things, but to me, this Representative Govia doesn't know me, and sending her an email like this made sense to me. For the other contacts that I regularly work with, some of them I knew had a newsletter, or I knew they had a place in their lobby to hang up a poster. And so I did customize mine. And it sounds like we have everything that people want to put into their emails, except that this option A under newsletter doesn't have individual links to every single event. It only has the single link to the Cooler Concord page. And so I guess what I'm hearing is we really would just be taking option A from the promotional toolkit. And I've heard and asked to add links to each of those dates. And then people would just put that in their email and they would say, hey, we're having this series. Can you please help promote it? Here's some text and here's an image.
So Amanda, you
Well, on a
you-
functional level, all of the events take you to the same homepage, so.
And can't you get the link in that those links and all that are already going to be on the top level of the Cooler Concord page, right? Because they were in the demo at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, folks,
I'm-
the links actually in the PDF are live. So, and each one of the events, if you look at the PDF that was sent, it takes you to a Word file. And the Word file has all that verbiage in there.
Which PDF you're talking about?
So the PDF that Amanda sent in her email.
It's
Yeah,
also
All
in
over
the,
the place here. We're
Yeah,
showing
but
something
so-
and then we have emails and stuff like that. I'm
Mike, the
completely
PDF
lost.
the PDF you're talking about is what Jerry's showing. It's just that this is the word, this is the version on, that is the promotional toolkit, and this is the promotional toolkit. It's the same document. And so, I guess what I'm hearing, Mike, is that people are feeling that people won't follow that link and they won't go get the text that they need from this, that the text needs to be in the email.
You could say the links are in the PDF. I don't know. I mean, I think we're splitting hairs at this point. Let's just send it out.
Yeah.
Follow up
I
an
mean,
email.
my biggest.
I agree with
concern-
you. I
bigger
think we should
concern-
just send it out and then see how it flies. And if it doesn't fly right, we can give them the individual links in the second email.
Yeah,
know it
my
won't fly
biggest
right.
concern, Jerry and others, is the concern with links and embedded links and pictures. This is the recipe for spamming the email. Okay. I just tested sending this document that you're showing right now on the screen from my Gmail account to my Comcast account. It went right into spam. So we need to be, I mean, I think this sort of this PDF is fine. I think this link here creates a little challenge for some email servers. The
This
one
link?
that download the material, because it's an embedded link basically. So I think that's a challenge here, I think. I can test it the other way around, see what happens in the Gmail side. Probably more forgiving because that link is a Gmail link, is a Google Drive link, right? So.
So Hanny, are you suggesting that we can avoid the spam, or I'm sorry, yeah,
I'm
avoid
not
the
sure, but
spam
I
tag?
tested, and this may be the setting on my email, right? And maybe others who have maybe 2 email accounts can test it and see what happens. I'm going to do the reverse. I'm going to send it from my Comcast to Gmail and see what happens, if it behaves the same way or not. I'm not sure. Amanda, you've been sending those perhaps, and maybe I don't know if you have more experience. I don't know.
Well, just a semi-technical question here, Hanny. If we removed this link to download materials from Google Drive and instead just left it, had the materials in an attachment, would that avoid that problem?
Yeah, that would avoid the problem because now they're explicit as opposed to sending someone to somewhere else.
Got it.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of an attachment, so it shouldn't
Right.
get.
And it should go through, it won't get blocked.
All right, that sounds good. So just do that then. Remove the
So
link.
Amanda is creating a new email template as we speak here. So let's give her a moment to put this together, and then we'll talk about the. We'll see what we think about this. Is it? So this, I'll let her. Yeah.
So I have to sign off, but I
Yeah,
did want to
me too.
raise the issue of, I would love to get help from somebody with a Cooler Concord newsletter to go out that will have the promotion in it. Julie used to do that. And if someone wants to, I could show them how to get onto the MailChimp and design something like that. That would be helpful.
I could work with you on that, Brent, I'm sure.
Okay, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've got to sign off also.
Okay. So
Better go.
yeah, a couple of comments before you do sign off, just very briefly.
Yeah.
First of all, again, I apologize for the meeting running longer. That I did not do a very good job of managing time. Secondly, there, in addition to the contact list for emails, there's a separate list for distributing flyers. I'll send that out or link to it via email so that and explain what that's all about, so we can affect that. I don't want to go into it now at this point because it's late. People are signing off, and I think the most important thing is to resolve the questions on this email template. But it's just a heads up, that'll be coming from me very shortly. So those of you who need to sign off, see you later. Thanks for attending. Have a nice rest of your evening.
Okay. Amanda, are you going to, or Jerry, are you going to send out this revised email to the group after the meeting?
It's in the final revised version will be on the
In Google Drive?
on the Google Drive.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody.
Right. So let me.
Do
So
we
the
still have a
only
quorum?
the only catch with this, or at least that I see, is that we're not, there's no attachment listed for folks who want the graphics or.
You can still attach that JPEG.
Yeah, so we just need to decide what image we want to attach. And it sounds like we only want to attach one. So we need to decide, is it a PDF of the poster? Is it the JPEG poster? Is it a Twitter size? Is it a Facebook size? And we have all of those. So we just need to pick one.
Are you gonna leave out the link, the download link to the media
Yes.
folder? Is that
It's-
because of the fact that of what Hanning was
Yes.
saying? Because it
Yeah,
would,
I mean, I just tested from Gmail to my work email. That worked. So it looks like Comcast behaves very strangely, which is not surprising with Comcast.
Right.
so you think that it's a way of predicting that it's spam and it puts it in your spam folder because of the
A
download
lot
link?
of email, a lot of email servers, when they see embedded links and stuff like that, they sort of caution and just because
But-
they don't know what that link is and they cannot validate what it is sometimes.
So what if we included the attachment and just had another line before the closure here that says, attached, please find a full media kit with various images that you may wish to use.
I think that would be good.
Would it be possible for you to put a zipped file of the toolkit into the promotional folder so that we can get it there and attach it to this email that we're going to send out?
Well, hold on that question first, Doug. So Amanda, what do you think about adding the attachment to this with that sentence? Or is this getting too Frankenstein?
I mean, to be honest, if we're worried about a link triggering spam, then like so might an attachment. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about that to like say one way or the other. All I know is that in my promotional outwork with lots of organizations, we always did a promotional toolkit. And I've also seen other like nonprofit orgs do that with their allies. And so that's what I was basing it off of.
Right.
If that practice doesn't feel legitimate in this case, I'm happy to send this other email.
But
I
this
think this is short and sweet. Like people are going to get what they need and we're going to get something out of it too. And if having all of those other images to choose from feels like we overcomplicated things, then we overcomplicated things, and that's fine. I needed those images anyway for my social media, so it wasn't, work that was unjustified. So if this feels like it works, there doesn't need to be, it's all a spectrum. Like maybe the toolkit was on a more complicated side and this is the simple side. And I think given the time and that we want to send this, I could see CSAC members wanting to send it on the weekend when you have more time out of your regular jobs and other things like that. It'd be nice to have something in the hands of people tomorrow. And it feels like this new email is something we could have in people's hands tomorrow so they can send over the weekend.
And you weren't going to hot link the events?
No, the links caused the problem, Doug.
Okay. I guess they can get that from the Cooler Concord events page, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. I'm reminded that perfect is the enemy of good. So I'd be happy with this. I was of the mind, just like Amanda is, that a full toolkit would be useful and appreciated by our allies. It's not to say they wouldn't appreciate this, but this is short and sweet. I think there's lots of value in that. Amanda is suggesting we run with this. Are there any?
I think you could also just leave these two options. If you know someone personally and you think, wow, they're really into social media, they would love that to have that toolkit, send them the second email. If you're like, nope, I know this person and they just want to forward it to their friends, send them the first, the new email. We can leave both of them on here. It's an internal document.
Yeah, right. That sounds good to me. That's kind of, in many ways, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And for us individually, we can choose which one we want to use. Does anyone have any objections with that?
No.
Going once? Going twice? Okay. We'll go with two options for the email template. Both options will be in the single file, and that single file is located here. Sustainability series in the promotional toolkit folder. Actually, let me take that back.
No, the email template is not there.
That's right. The email template is not here. The email template is in a different folder here, outreach work.
Okay.
Right here. Okay.
And the list of the spreadsheet that has people's names in it is the one that's called promotional contacts.
That's right here. Promotional contacts. Now there's one more file I want to show folks very quickly so there no surprises. So this file here, where to place posters and flyers in Concord. This was used, Janet, you may, and Karen, you may both find this familiar. This was used pretty much as is for the Sustainable Landscaping Fair. I edited up a little bit for our purposes, but basically there's a number of different areas in town with particular venues listed. This is where individually, I'm going to ask each one to go out, pick up some posters and flyers from Amanda and go out and place these in different spots around town. I'll send out.
If you turn this into a sign up list so that we can sign up for certain locations, that would be good.
A sign up list as in an Excel file?
Maybe it can say, I'll do Deborah's Natural Gourmet and somebody else will do the Shobobrook Bakery.
Well, okay.
Like that, that'll work. That'll work.
Okay. Then that's fine. I will ask each of you then to go to this file, sign up. You can pick up the flyers and the posters from Amanda.
So where's this in the Google Drive so I can find it?
It's in the directory outreach work.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, just one comment earlier. So I cleaned up this folder. There were a number of individual files. And so there's basically three new folders. Cooler Concord site. This largely files related to Hanny's work on Cooler Concord. Outreach work, which we just looked at. This is for our contact list, places to put the posters, et cetera. And then there's the toolkit. This is where the images are listed, or not listed, but are available. Descriptions are available that folks can use.
Okay.
It's public.
Well, this is all for us.
Right, but the promotional toolkit inside of that is publicly available.
No.
It's not restricted.
I think it's restricted to our committee.
Well,
This is
this is where the download link took you.
okay. Let me rephrase that. I don't believe the public has editing privileges, have download privileges, but not editing privileges.
That's right. That's all. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll send out an email. I don't know if I can get to it tomorrow, but certainly over the weekend, summarizing some of these actions that we're taking here, namely choosing one of the two formats in the template, email template to use, signing up for poster and print material distribution, and reminding folks of the contact list of where everyone is to send their emails. Are there any other questions or things folks want to discuss before we wrap up? I guess I've worn everyone down. Okay, good. I got a laugh. Everyone's still alive. Okay, with that in mind, would someone care to offer a motion to adjourn?
There are two people who might have public comments. So
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see them on here. Let me, are
Patient.
they still online?
We lost everyone.
were they gone? They were
Yeah.
there a moment ago. Okay.
Yeah, we did wear those down.
Pour them down.
In that case, I will propose a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Doug seconds. Okay,
Okay.
we're good to go.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience, for your commitment, for your work on this. we're getting there. I think we're doing great. Just got a lot of details to pay attention to and to juggle. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your